Today we're going to review for the midterm. There's some things I want to go over on the board just real quick to make sure you understand the difference. And then there's an exercise in SNAP to help prepare you for the midterm. What I want to talk about is the difference between formulas and functions. There's two different meanings, formulas and functions, and most students get them confused. So I always want to take a moment to review the difference between them. So let's look. So let's take a look at functions first. Usually, functions are dealing with a range of numbers. So all the functions that are in Excel are the same functions you use in math: mean, median, mode, sum, average, things like that. Formulas are usually one or two individual cell references. So let's take a look at function. If I wanted to add this range, how would I do it? The range B4 through B15. If I wanted to add all the values that exist in that range, what would I do? You have to use a function for that because it's more than one cell. And the function, you press equal on the keyboard, and it's sum. Then you open the parentheses and you add your range, B4 colon B15. So what you're doing is you're telling Excel that you want to start a formula. The result of the formula will be the sum, meaning everything will be added together. And then Excel will look in this range and pull all the numbers that exist in that range, add them together, and display that value in the cell. What happens if I wanted to add C7 and D7? If we're just adding individual cells, that's where the formulas, that's where you would use formula. In this case, it would be equal C7 plus D7. So notice the difference here. We're pressing the equal sign to tell Excel we want to start a formula. We're doing one individual cell reference or one relative cell reference. You'll see that in your text. And we're adding another cell. That's one simple formula. You would not use a function in that case. What happens if I wanted to subtract these two values? What would I do? Just again, we're dealing with two relative references. So again, we start with equal, and all we do is C7 minus D7. How about multiply them? Good. Notice what changes. Just the operation. That's the only thing that changes. What we're actually doing with the values that exist in the cell. Everything else is the same. So what happens, let's go look at functions and take the range B4 through B15. What if I wanted to average that range? Good. Just like that. What if I wanted to find the maximum value in that range? Okay, do we see what changes in our functions? It's this value right here. So it's our actual function itself. Or the output, however you want to think of it. So in this case, we're telling this is what we want the outcome to be. The range stays the same if we were using that same range. So this is the difference between a function. What happens is you'll have a question, they'll say, like, you'll have a question like this. Let's just say this is cell F17. Okay. You have a question like this that says multiply C7 and D7, display the result in F17. So we would come over here in F17 and what would we put in there? We're multiplying, we're just using our formula, so what would we do there? It would just be like this, times D7, okay? What students like to do is you'll mix these up and want to do something like this. In some cases, you'll get the right answer by mistake, just for mathematics. But that's not right. You can't mix a function with a formula operator. So don't do this. If you have the function, it's just a range. There's no other mathematics involved inside. Okay? And same thing with the subtraction. They'll try to do here, they'll try to do equal sum C7 minus D7. Don't do that. That's mixing up the two. Keep them completely separate. Either you're dealing with the range, you're putting it in a function, or you're dealing with individual cell references or relative cell references, and you just type the cells in there. Sometimes you'll see in your activities, it'll say, add the range B4 through B15. And it says, don't include individual cell references, which means we can convert this this function into a formula by using individual cell references, but it doesn't want you to do that. That means you would type something like this, B4 plus B5. Oops. You say B4 plus B5 plus B6 plus B7 plus B8, and so on all the way to B15. Okay? This is including individual cell references. It's not logical to do all of this when we can just add a function. So that's the purpose of using the functions. Okay? Any questions? All right. Let me show you. I set up an activity in Snap here that says study for the midterm. You can go ahead and press on that, and that is a simulator. That's exactly what the test is going to look like. The difference is I added some hints here in this, so if you get stuck on a question, there's a hints button that you can use, and it'll help you through the activity. Also, each one of these questions has a limit of 100 attempts, so you can pretty much take it, and then you can take the midterm study guide as many times as you want to, of course, until after the midterm. So if you go through that, you'll see all the questions you could possibly have on the midterm. Take it for the rest of the class period, just to make sure you don't have any questions. There were a few things I wanted to touch base on, but a lot of it is very basic, so I may not need to go over it on the board. So yes.
They say you can't move questions.
Okay. I'll take a look. So go through that, make sure you don't have any questions, and that's everything you'll see on the midterm. Let's see what is